Aromatic. Adventure.
There's fireworks. There's fireworks in the skies. It's not 4th of July, it's the 6th of July, but apparently people are still setting off their fireworks. Welcome to the Candle Enthusiast. I am your host, Shane Carlson, and I come to you with the candle tonight that I have been anticipating for several months. I could not wait to get my hands on this candle, and if it sounds like I'm being a tad dramatic, I think that would be a fair assessment of the situation. But if you know anything about me, you know how much I love Yankee Candle. Spicy, pepperberry, and spruce. These names are out of control. How much I love aroma, fall, autumn, Halloween, and It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Who doesn't love It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown? I mean, it's just a given. Everyone loves it. And this candle magically brings all of those elements together. This candle, entitled Blue Twilight Storm, and this is the 8th and the last of Yankee Candle's 2018 fall lineup. And if you want to see any of my evaluations of all of the other 7 fragrances from this year, make sure you check out the description below. I'm going to link up all of those videos. But we're going to be talking about Blue Twilight Storm right now. Let's zoom in. Let's focus on this label, because this is where it's at. Look at this artwork. Incredible. This does get my award for one of the greatest labels of the past several years. That sky. It looks like a screenshot taken right out of It's the Great Pumpkin. If you look at the background artwork of that television special, it was done, at least in part, with watercolors, which is very unique, especially back in those days when it was first released. And this looks almost identical. You get all of those multi-colors floating in the sky. We see blues and purples and periwinkles. We have some ambers. Something is brewing, something wicked this way comes, and we have fireworks. Fireworks to celebrate the occasion. In the foreground, we have the pumpkin patch, and we're not just standing in a pumpkin patch. We're like down in the dirt with the pumpkins. We're down on the ground. We're sitting with Linus and Sally and Snoopy, waiting for the arrival of the Great Pumpkin. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful label. But what does Blue Twilight Storm smell like? Let's find out. So when I smell this candle, it immediately transports me to a very specific place. And ironically, it's not the pumpkin patch from Charlie Brown. It immediately transports me to a very specific place. And that doesn't always happen. It's actually quite seldom that that happens. Usually I need to soak in the fragrance notes, think about the concept for several moments, and like that metaphorical Polaroid image, it starts to, the painting starts to process in my brain very slowly. But as soon as I smell this, bam, I'm in a specific place. It's Lake George, New York. Yes, another place, another thing that I truly love. But let me explain. All throughout Lake George, all throughout Main Street or Canada Street, they have several shops that celebrate the Native American heritage and history of the tribes of that area. And there's one trading post specifically that this is bringing to mind. It's called the Tom Tom Shop. This to me smells like that classic trading post and all of the things that you find inside. Trading post, country store, haberdashery, any one of those will probably work. But for the sake of this, let's call this a trading post. When you walk into that Tom Tom shop, you're going to smell a bunch of things. First thing you're probably going to smell is the leather. all of the leather clothing, the rawhide, even the compounds that they use to treat the leather. It just has that leather muskiness as soon as you walk in. But there's, of course, many other products for sale. A very popular product being the balsam and fir incense sticks, and oftentimes those incense sticks come in cedar boxes. There is a strong cedar presence inside of this candle, and there's just so many knickknacks and things in those stores that are just crafted out of cedar to begin with. And then you walk down the aisles and maybe you turn the corner and you find some dried herbs and some fragrance oils. So think of clary sage, think of rosemary, think of fragrance oils like vetiver and patchouli. All of those fragrance notes that I just mentioned, for me, paint that portrait of the trading post. And I think that's a great launching pad for this candle. It's a great place to start, and let's move further, let's move deeper. I think we'll all agree that this is a masculine, cologne-driven fragrance, but the intensity is not out of control. Let's say this is a step down from crisp fall night or autumn night, and perhaps a step up from over the river or river valley. Two candles, two different names. I didn't mean to confuse anybody. But this falls into that medium intensity. And citrus. Citrus for days in the form of bergamot, again adding to that cologne profile, but also that bergamot is helping create the illusion of Earl Grey. Earl Grey has bergamot oil in it, and we get the herbaceousness of that black tea as well. So definitely Earl Grey. And for safe measure, let me throw in some grapefruit as well. Oak moss. Oak moss is so important because this is what's going to create the illusion of the autumn leaves, the freshly fallen foliage on the forest floor, alliteration. Oak moss smells like crushed up, damp, decaying leaves. And it is absolutely essential for a candle called Blue Twilight Storm, if you ask me. And what is also essential, at least for Yankee Candle, is the floral notes. Not a lot of florals, but definitely lavender. Lavender is really, it's how Yankee Candle defines autumn evenings. Usually autumn evening themed candles are going to have that lavender smell, that lavender nuance, that lavender touch, and this is no exception. There could be something like geranium in this candle, but I don't feel obligated to go there. And a slight nuttiness. Actually, the more I smell it, the more nuttiness I get. But I'm gonna classify this as roasted chestnut. And if you're not familiar with roasted chestnuts, I wasn't until recently, until I visited Old Sturbridge Village and I got to smell roasted chestnuts on the fire.
Oh. We've roasted up some chestnuts here if you want to try a sample.
Oh. You know, I think that would be a fantastic idea.
Fantastic idea.
Fantastic idea. You know, this is something, funnily enough, I don't think I've ever, has anyone ever had roasted chestnuts?
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
It smells like a very savory and sweet potato or yam. And I've mentioned cedar, but let me throw in oak as well, like fresh, brand new oak. If you've ever smelled a brand new oak barrel before, you know what I mean. It's adding to the woodiness of this candle, adding to that cedar and adding to the patchouli and vetiver. You get all of those come together to create a nice wooden foundation, as if we are outdoors, waiting for that blue twilight storm. So I'm very pleased with the direction of this candle. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, but to me it has a very spiritual presence or aura. There's something very ceremonial about this candle, and because I mentioned that trading post, my mind is going back to those Native American tribes. I think a wonderful alternative name to this candle would be something like Rain Dance, or the Spirits of the Storm. Spirits of the Storm is going to be in reference to the Thunders. It's a legend that's affiliated with the Iroquois Indians that were and are still present in Lake George, New York. In fact, I actually pulled something for the internet that I'd like to share for you for a moment. Let me read it. It's from nativelanguages.org. The Thunders are a clan of storm spirits who live in the sky and cause thunder and lightning. They are usually described as winged men, but also known for shape-shifting back and forth between human form and giant birds. Although they are dangerous beings and their gaze can bring death to mortal men, the Thunders usually play a positive role in Iroquois legends and spirituality and are typically portrayed as honorable and fair. So again, to me, great names. Rain Dance, Spirits of the Storm. But you know what? I'll take Blue Twilight Storm any day. Beautiful execution of this candle. But there is something I do have to address. I have to address. It has been brought to my attention by many different sources. One source I would like to give a shout out to, Philly Candleman, here on YouTube, Brett, who told me, as well as several other folks on the interwebs and some management from Yankee Candle storefronts, that this candle, a Blue Twilight Storm, was a repackage of a candle we saw late last year called City Lights. City Lights was an exclusive fragrance for the Soho, New York City pop-up storefront called Candle Power. And it looked a little something like this. I bought 2 of these, and I loved the fragrance. And when Brett brought this to my attention, that these were possibly the same fragrance, it really blew me away, because he was absolutely right. A lot of the fragrance notes that are in this candle are also in this candle. I'm going to go on record and say there are some differences. Now keep in mind, this is paraffin wax poured in a different year. This is the soy wax blend poured this year. I do find that this Blue Twilight Storm has a higher intensity of aromatics, where this is going to have a softer, lighter linger when it's burning. So let's look at Yankee Candle's description of these 2 fragrances. Blue Twilight Storm, a brooding sense of storm approaching with a cologne-like mix of black sesame, patchouli, and balsam. All right. City Lights, filled with the shadows and light that make the city special, our sophisticated mix of black sesame, patchouli, and balsam. So are these candles the same? Are they not? Are they slightly different? I'll let you come up with your own conclusion, but you know what mine is. Thank you everyone for joining me this evening as I talked about this candle. This does conclude Yankee Candle's 8 fall fragrances for 2018. Again, all of the other videos, all of the other fragrances, I'm going to link them up in the description below. Make sure you check them out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that button right there. We have lots of great content coming up in the near future. But once again, thanks again for joining me. I will be seeing you folks soon. But until then, be good, will ya?